On this episode of Speaking of Spirits, we are talking about ectoplasm. What is it? And can a medium produce ectoplasm when communicating with spirits?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Speaking of Spirits. This is Colleen with Pocatello Paranormal Research, and with me is my sidekick, Tim.
Woo!
And Zach.
Good to be here.
And Carrie.
Hi.
And just so you know, Zach's a newer addition to the team. You were on the last podcast.
Yep, so...
Yeah.
Still relatively new.
Yeah. And Carrie is our medium. She works on our team with us, and she's phenomenal. And since this podcast is on ectoplasm, like Ghostbusters, and physical mediums, we thought she should join in today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, how many in the room know what ectoplasm is?
I've done a little bit of research into it. It might have been last minute. But,
Did you cross the beams? Because you're not supposed to cross the beams.
That's where all my knowledge comes from.
Ghostbusters, right?
That and marshmallows.
Yeah, that's true. So it's the more viscous, clear outer layer of the cytoplasm of amoeboid cells, right? That's ectoplasm. That's the scientific term. Again, with Ghostbusters, you never cross the beams. Then you get the ectoplasm goes everywhere. So it's, or the other definition is the supernatural viscous substance that is supposed to exude from the body of a medium, which is interesting because it wasn't in Ghostbusters. It wasn't the medium. It was the ghost. Mm-hmm. So it was the body of a medium during a spiritualistic trance and form the material for the manifestation of spirits. Carrie, have you ever seen it?
I have never seen that, no. But what you're talking about is something different. You're talking about somebody, when you're saying trance, it's completely different than what I do.
Yes.
Yeah. So, no, I have never experienced that, and I don't ever want to experience that.
Yeah. Ooey gooey fun. Yeah, so...
So the last time I went down the Netflix hole,
yeah,
I watched a couple on mediums, and they were explaining the process you were talking about with the ectoplasm and how afterwards they have this substance. And it seemed really...
too good to be true.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
I think is the word I was looking for. And I don't know. I think it may be because I have the Ghostbusters influence, and I guess I just want Slimer to be a happy, good guy.
I think Slimer is.
Well, okay, so I've worked with a lot of mediums. Carrie is a medium. My mom was a medium. I've never seen a physical substance from a medium reading or experience.
No. And I've been with one person that was truly in a channeled state where it was not her. I mean, everything about her changed, even her features.
Well,
the way she walked, the way she talked, everything. And you could truly feel the whole room change. That to me where that was a whole nother entity in her space, might be a different thing than what I go through and what I experience. I've never had nothing on the bottom of my feet. Never.
So, the supernatural, allegedly, I'm going to use allegedly a lot in this podcast.
With air quotes?
With air quotes.
Woo!
There's a supernatural ectoplasm, right? The term was coined by Charles Richet, a French physiologist. So he is a physiologist who won the Nobel Prize in Physiology of Medicine in 1913 for his work in anaphylaxis. And we were just talking about the use of EpiPens.
We sure were.
Interesting.
Shocking.
Shocking. The word comes from the Greek word ektos, which means outside, and plasma, which means molded or formed, in reference to the substance said to be manifested by a physical medium in a trance. So, psychoplasm and teleplasm refer to the same phenomenon, although teleplasm is ectoplasm and acts at a distance from the medium. Idioplasm is ectoplasm that molds itself into the likeness of a person. I'm really struggling with this. I'm really struggling with this being real.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, as I did research on it, I saw so many like alleged things, like you said, in the early 1900s or so, involving mediums, not real mediums, using gauze and stuff in dark rooms in order to kind of create these supposed entities via their own ectoplasm. I'm using air quotes.
Yeah, he's doing it for our purposes. But, so, tell us how Carrie is a medium. What happens to you when you're doing a reading?
When I'm with somebody and feeling connected, and it doesn't happen every time I'm with somebody and working with somebody, but basically just on the back side of them, on the outside of them, either a guide or an ancestor sometimes will step forward, and it's in my mind's eye. Physically, I see shadows all the time, but when I'm actually doing a reading, everything it's right there in front of me. I've never had the experience where I felt like anything was trying to take over or anything like that. But they're just there. Some of them nod. Some of them actually communicate. A lot of times I can give somebody a description of the person by them and they know who it is. Sometimes I get names. Like I said, it depends because some people are more open than other people. So some people are very easy to read and they're very much wanting the information and the interaction. And so things come through clearer, easier. And sometimes other people are more shut down, shut off. So it's very hard to get into their space to read everything going on around them and see everything going on around them.
So you're more an observer.
Yes.
Other than what, like every time that I watched something with a medium, it seemed like there was like two different categories. One, they were an observer and storyteller, and they were able to, for lack of better terms, play Pictionary and figure stuff out. And the other group, it seemed like they said they were more controlled, for lack of better words again.
I know that sometimes things come out of my mouth. I was doing a reading and I just kept getting, I just want to throat punch her. So I finally said it. And she said, I just said that to my sister an hour ago.
Wow.
And so, but things, when things, I keep hearing them repetitively. And sometimes I'm like, well, that makes no sense. But then when I say them, the person in front of me is going, yeah, I just said that.
Yeah.
Or another one, can we swear or no?
Yeah, you can.
The other one I did just the other day, and her other half had been fighting, and she was very emotional when she came to me, and I kind of knew all that and everything. And then as we were talking, whatever, and I said, I just keep hearing batshit crazy. And she said, because that's what he tells me 5 times a day, is that I'm batshit crazy.
Oof.
Wow.
So I pick up things like that also, and that's more, I think, the intuitive than the medium part of it. But it all melds together for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I don't even understand it. It just happens. Just like sometimes when we're on an investigation, a name will come to me, or I can feel the feeling of anger or fear or those things coming off of them also.
Yeah.
So it all melds, like I said, it melds together for me.
So we've done a lot of podcasts, and it seems like a lot of them have all had different word for a space, whatever that is out of consciousness. So we talked about meditation, and we talked about
Right.
ESP stuff, and just it seems like just about everything we've talked about, there's like this something else
Right.
that you go to. Do you think that it's something like that a medium goes to, and it's like a center space, or
Well, per se, I guess that we're going to get into way different stuff here because that goes clear into the quantum level if you're going to go into all of that,
My
which
bad.
is another podcast. But I feel like we're all energy. Even when we pass over, we are still energy. So I feel like all of it, we're all connected. And we all have different gifts and abilities, but as far as the space goes, I would say yes.
winner, chicken dinner?
Yeah. So, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, right? We all know that. This name. He worked with a medium, and he said that he felt ectoplasm, like it was a living substance, like it responded to his touch. And it's kind of interesting because I feel like I think like it should be real. Like, is that what people are feeling? Can they feel auras? Can they feel?
Yes,
See, that's what I'm
I
wondering.
can feel other people's energy.
Yeah. Well, I feel it too, but I don't feel it as a physical thing. I
Okay,
feel
but-
it as an emotional thing.
But have you ever had the feeling that somebody just touched you on the back of the
Yes.
neck or the
Yes.
shoulder?
Yes.
Or you just got the chills go up through you and
Yes.
around you when you're, with somebody or in
So-
or in an area.
So we just had a team barbecue, all right, at my house, and it started when you got there, Tim. Yeah,
It's because I'm pretty.
because you're so pretty. And as soon as Tim got there, and I didn't say anything throughout the night, but it was just like, is when Tim showed up, I started getting the feeling of, and I don't know if it was something you were dragging around with you that day, but no, like something what kept lightly touching my leg, like on my calf, and it was only my right leg. And then I always think like, well, so for those of you who don't know, I was paralyzed several years ago, like neck down, and so I get weird nerve sensations still, even though, and so I chalk it down sometimes to, that's just, but it only happened for like the whole time you were there, and then as soon as you left, everything left. And it has started, you were the first person there. I mean, Blaine was there, but you were the first person there. And then as soon as you rolled out, gone. So I'm like, okay, I wonder what he was dragging around with him that day. So is that, I don't think that's ectoplasm though.
No.
It's supposed to be a physical substance.
Yeah,
Right?
like viscous. Like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the gooey white, like you crack open an egg.
Yeah.
And it's the white egg before you cook it. It's the white. It's not the yolk. It's
and on some of those other TV shows and whatever, they got that stuff.
Fibery stuff.
Yeah, that.
It seems like there's not a good definition.
No.
It's just a
It
physical
varies so
substance.
much depending on like which side of pop culture you're coming from. It looks like.
And I think that's the big difference, and what's associated with the word is after whatever you want to call it, it's a physical presentation of something.
Well, I'm a huge believer in manifestation, so maybe we all, as a group, ought to start manifesting a hunt where we see.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. Because when we tend to
mean-
get together as a team, shit happens. Because I think it's almost like that kinetic energy between us.
But
But
so let's go. Okay, so we're wanting that one thing to show us.
It sounds like a great experiment for the 24th.
There we go.
oh yeah.
There we go. No, I really.
So for
Think-
those of you, this podcast is going to air before National Ghost Hunting Day, right? National Ghost Hunting Night, September 24th. We're going to be at the Andrus Hotel in Soda Springs for an all-night live ghost hunt, and we have a few We have 8 spots for members of the public to investigate with us. And yeah. And usually when we get together, and hopefully the police chief will be there, because when he walks into that place, it lights up like a fuse. Yeah, because he's the police chief, and there's somebody who had some interaction with the police in that hotel who's dead. Right. Yeah, so so researchers keep wrestling with how to describe ectoplasm. Some people call it, like you said, it's fibrous. Some people say it's gauzy. Some people say it's like globules or mucusy, which is really grody to me, and I don't want to see that if that's what we're manifesting, guys. Other people, I don't know. It's like,
I think as a base definition across all of it, it seems that one of the really big things is a substance that's created by a physical medium that is then able to be used or manipulated by a paranormal entity of some sort in order to manifest itself.
So you mean the entity is using the ectoplasm to manifest?
Yeah, as sort of like a...
like when we ask it to turn the flashlight on and off.
Right, like that sort of thing. Like it's able to manipulate it in order to appear, however it may desire, I suppose. It seems like across the board, as a very loose definition, ectoplasm seems to be defined in that way throughout a lot of these definitions from various sources, it seems like.
Interesting. So in one definition, they're talking about ectoplasm looks gauzy, cloth-like material that it mysteriously took the form of faces of a spirit who was being invited to talk. So when I don't see things very much, but when I do, I don't see them gauzy. I see them as human. Or whatever they are. I see them as not just a shape or a
shadow,
filmy thing. I see them kind of it's 3D like a human. So I don't know.
So I was bouncing around on ye old Google, where dreams become reality. That really should be their catchphrase. And I only need 2 pennies every time they use it. But they said that there's a real definition and meaning in the real world. Whatever that means. Air quote that one. And it says that ectoplasm is the outer part of a cytoplasm. It is located adjacent to the cell membrane and helps the membrane to maintain elasticity. It is less dense and not granulated. However, ectoplasm is responsible for the locomotion of an amoeba cell. So in my mind, of course, because this is where magic happens, I see like a snail thing, and the slime stuff is what's the trail that they leave is what the definition is. Air quotes, just in case you were curious, of ectoplasm in like the medical definition field. Yeah. So I'm wondering if they just transferred that word to that thing, because how do you define that?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So physical mediums back in the day were mostly frauds, right? I mean, they were using every trick in the book to levitate tables, to move objects. It was a business. I mean, it was a business. I don't think very many mediums, when this stuff kind of became part of the culture, like people were really going to medium. I want to say 1800s, around then, that people were like, let's go have a seance and contact so and so.
Yeah,
well, didn't that really catch on fire like in the 1920s?
And it goes through cycles. I mean, it's kind of, but I think now it's different than it was back then. I think now they're not trying to levitate the tables or, do any of the stuff that they used to do, which would probably be easier now than it would have been back then. With everything that's out there now, probably be way easier to do that. But when you're having a reading with somebody, things don't move. I mean, the lights might flicker or different things like that. But it's meant more for closure for a lot of people.
Or guidance.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot,
You were talking about people who may be more closed,
Mm-hmm.
why would you ask for a reading and not be open?
Because a lot of people don't realize they're shut down.
Oh,
I've had a lot of clients come to me. They know that their heart hurts. They know that they're going through all this turmoil, but they don't realize how much they've shut down their energy centers. You know, and as you start working with people and start opening them up, everything starts coming easier again for them and for you if you do other readings on them.
Yeah, makes sense.
Do you think it's a realization or denial? Or both?
Okay, so I know that for some people it is religion. You know, there are people that believe that when we're gone from here, we're done. That this is it. This is your one life. Live it the best you can. And I think it's a good way to live life because this is the only life that you're going to have in this body. But I think some of it is religion. Some is what other people would think if they knew that they was coming to see me. I mean, or other people that do readings or mediumship. And some of it is just trauma that they've been through, that they shut down because it protects you. When you start shutting down your energy centers in a way, you feel like you're safe.
Yeah.
So
oh, sorry.
go.
So, sorry, I'm just curious in this matter. I apologize to everybody listening. So, if you see something moving, do you classify that more as a haunting?
You mean like when we're out on investigation, or
Right.
when we're do I consider it a haunting?
Well, and I guess just is there a definition for you? Because you said that you don't really see things moving and such when you're doing the medium things.
Mm-hmm.
If you, how to say that question? You smelling what I'm stepping in?
Well, okay, so I help at another establishment part-time sometimes. And there is a person there that has been there for a very long time and has no intentions of leaving and very happy where they're at. But when I go into the bathroom, and it only happens to me because I've taken the owner in there, I've taken several people in there to see if it happens. But every time I go in, the paper towel holder goes off and drops me a paper towel. And I'm not even in front of it. I'm not near it. And to me, that's how we've started communicating.
Yeah.
And I just say, hey, thanks.
Thanks for the paper towel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those that has to be motion guided.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on the other side. I go into the first stall. When I'm in there, it goes down. I come out, it's there.
Yeah.
And that's just how we've learned to. That's probably the most physical thing for me that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen things in different places.
So, physical mediumship is defined as the manipulation of energies and energy systems by spirits. So, if we consider something moving, that's manipulation of, wouldn't you think?
I think so, yeah.
Well, it's just like when the flashlight goes off or on. To me, that's communication.
Yeah.
And that's physical, in a sense, because
Right.
that physically had to
Push the button or
Yeah,
turn the flashlight. Yes.
it
Well, and they say so this type of mediumship is claimed to involve perceptible manifestations like loud raps and noises, voices, materialized objects, apports, materialized source of power for such spirit manifestations is how a medium is using this power. I've never thought of a haunting as a physical medium changing.
Yeah.
So you got to wonder then if that's what, okay, is any one of us not realizing we're doing that?
Exactly. That's kind of what I was trying to go down.
Yeah,
couldn't figure
so
out how to word
we're
it.
together and we're doing an investigation and we think it's haunted because, I don't know, chair slide across door is door slams. So, yeah.
so
for
are we
one-
subconsciously doing
Yeah,
this
like
as
all
a
of
group?
us want something to materialize, so all of a sudden the door slams.
Yeah. Focus
Focusing
and intention.
and our attention. And maybe that's what we should do at the Enders on National Ghost Hunting Day. Focus our attention on one thing the whole time we're there and see if we can make it manifest.
Because I've been thinking a
Door
lot
slam.
over
Whatever.
all of my junk.
Right.
And I've I've always been a storyteller, an artist, and a lyricist. That's just kind of what I do. And so I always find myself looking at instruments of creation. So pens, pencils, things like that.
Right.
And some of the weirdest things that have ever happened to me have happened when I'm staring at a pencil. Like, I don't know. So I wonder, that's why I was thinking of those questions, because I wonder, with intention and focus, if things are amplified.
So my mom, you bring this up, and it's kind of interesting because my mom could roll a pencil
Yeah?
by looking at it.
Well, I can control a flame on it. Well, and that's one of the things that that you want to do to keep everything open is you can control a flame on a candle. Mm-hmm. And I can teach anybody to control a flame on a candle.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And I just say that because yesterday.
Uh-oh, here we go, down the Tim trail.
Yeah. There was a cigar in my vicinity. In fact, it's right over there. And I was playing with it, and I caught the smoke on fire. Like, it was the coolest thing. And I was playing with it, and it turned to a different color. And right when I got Matt's attention, it went out. And I was playing with it for like 20, 30 seconds, and I was just kind of focusing on it. Okay. And by the time I tried to get someone to back me up on, hey, look what I'm doing, it was gone.
So, I mean, this is kind of in the same realm here, but do you know who Uri Geller is?
Well,
yes.
Not personally, but I've heard of him.
Okay,
absolutely.
So he could manipulate everything with his mind.
Right.
I mean, he
was on all kinds of TV shows.
and it was all with his thought form.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's probably what you were doing yesterday.
So my mom was trying to teach me how to do this, and I think more than anything was just to get me to settle down for 30 seconds and shut up. So it was like, focus on the pencil, Colleen, so she could walk into another room and breathe. But because I was always like, Mom, what about this? Mom, what about that? And so, but yeah, we used to watch Geller on TV on different shows. He'd be on Johnny Carson, Ben a Spoon. I mean, he was amazing.
Yes.
He was amazing. A lot of people call BS on it, but the camera's not cutting. It's just him and whatever object he was working with. A pencil just started, and they're like, well, there's magnets under the table. And it's like Johnny Carson's desk kind of thing. You know, it was happening real time on air.
But see, you're probably just growing all your strengths because you're very intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably just expanding what you're capable of.
Could be. But my biggest thing is how can you define and prove those things? Like everything we were talking, mediumship, clairvoyance, haunting, like they all have different definitions.
Right.
So how do you prove which is which?
Well, I think a medium is well, Carrie would answer this maybe differently. To me, a medium is interpreting the information coming at her or him because from the other side, because they may not know. They probably don't know the person who's just walked up in front of them. So how would they know Uncle Fred is dead?
Right.
They don't know. Where in Joe Blow's house, Uncle Fred comes in and flips on the light all the time. They know Uncle Fred just died and the light started flipping up and down. That's a haunting.
But how do you know the difference between the haunting and if little niece Sally is focusing on the light switch and turning it on and off?
Well,
and missing them. And thinking of them.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody living,
creating.
Messing with. Well, I think you could do that. Think about all of the studies they've done with identical twins. Right? And one identical twin maybe just broke their arm and 2 hours away, the other feels the pain and calls and says, how did you break your arm? So I think there's that mental connection that people do have. And I think you probably could change the atmosphere somewhere enough to manifest something.
Well, we got a couple little things we're going to be doing on the 24th, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think what we need to do, because we have a fairly decent-sized team, is 2 people will have some tests. Like not the whole team will be aware of what's going on. 2 people will have assignments. like you and Tim work together on focusing your energy somewhere, and me and somebody else will work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We'll assign people to work on a task and not tell anybody else
What it is.
what it is. You guys text each other, so we have proof of the date and time the text was sent that this is what we're going to work on. And then if it happens, we can say, hey, we just did this because here's our, this is what we decided to try.
Pencil moved.
Yeah, pencil moved, spooned in. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, why not use some of these paranormal investigations as more experiments and testing grounds, especially with the Andrews Hotel. We've been there a lot. Every time we go, we get new entities coming forward, which is really cool. But let's use the power of the building to help us with the investigations. So physical mediums, I would imagine most people are coming to them on their space. So maybe they've already learned to manipulate the space they're in. Right? Because if you're, think about it, if you have some place that's haunted, like the Enders, and you have somebody who's really talented, like Carrie walks in the door, things amplify.
Oh.
Right? Because, you know, I mean, she's done that. You do that. She comes to my house. She goes, there's a little girl just walked in. I'm like, what? I didn't know that. I mean, that kind of shit goes on all the time around Carrie. So you have, if you work, you know, Tim, you're in this recording studio all the time. Now you just caught the smoke on fire. So it's your space. You learn how to manipulate it more and more and more. So use that energy to keep trying to manipulate things more and more and more. Set up your cell phone in the corner and record it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What was you thinking about? Do you remember what you were even thinking about when you did that?
Yeah, we were writing a song. That's why I was thinking of
Was
a
it an
rhyme.
emotional song?
Mm-hmm.
So your emotions were heightened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when most media, yeah, that's definitely when hauntings happen.
Okay.
Yeah, use it. Use the. I'd start setting up a video camera in here when you're writing and see what happens, because I bet you're manipulating more than you know.
Could do. We could try it.
You
It'll
try
be fun. And that's kind of what we like. Proof is the only word I'm coming up with, but if we could provide proof and like huge definitions and things like ectoplasm, this is why I brought all of this up, because what is it?
Right.
How can we know what it is and what it isn't?
Yeah.
And it seems like there should be a good definition and a good category for that to be in.
There might not be a really good definition for it because it's maybe not true.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering, because otherwise I would think that I'm a scientist by trade, training, and profession. So it's like, that's why everybody's like, you're a scientist and you deal with the paranormal. It's because I'm trying to bring a rational side to this stuff. Maybe ectoplasm cannot be defined because it's really not true.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what we can do as a group. Like, everything we can think of, paranormal. And then things we've experienced, things we've done, and things we can't find a definition for are in the someone else needs to find this box.
Right.
It'd be cool to have those answers that you could give people.
Well, we were talking last time on the podcast about asking. It was on hypnagogue. I can't even say it. I always put another in there.
The sleepy one, and then the not so sleepy one.
The not so sleepy one. Hypnagogic hallucinations. And we were talking about asking our clients a series of questions. And actually, I have to go back and listen to the podcast and write these questions down.
You should too.
Because, huh?
You should too.
Yeah, everybody out there, because that one is not getting a great viewership yet. Writing down a series of questions to ask our clients, because are you more prone to have those hallucinations if X has happened? Mm-hmm. I mean, we had like we were having random thoughts come to us during that podcast, but those are the kind of things that we should capture as a team with questionnaires. We could put the questionnaires out on our Facebook page and then see where they go, have people answer them. And see where they go, because maybe people who are more prone to paranormal events are more prone to hypnagogic hallucinations. I don't know how to say that word.
Too many syllables.
You know what I'm
I don't
saying?
even try.
So, so in the later half of the 20th century, Western mediumship developed in two different ways. One claimed clairaudience, right? which is the ability to hear, and I get that a lot. I hear things. I hear. You do. Carrie's over here shaking. Yes. So, like, the information's coming to me audibly, but no one else can hear it. So is it really audio? I don't know. Is it coming just in my head? I hear the name, or I hear a sentence, or I. So at the Enders, go back to the Enders because that's coming up soon, right? It's like when we were working with the police chief the first time, the bad guy. I don't know exactly what his name is. There's a couple of names that have come to us, but I knew what he did. And it's not good. I knew what he did. He hurt little girls, right? And so I knew that. I knew that. Like, I know the shirt I have on is white. I knew that. And so the police chief's going, well, and I said, and like, I know, like, my shirt is white, that he was dragged to death in front of this hotel by horses. Like, he messed with the wrong little girl, and they took him out. And I said, and this is in the video, I said he was buried behind the hotel in an unmarked grave. And the police chief said, how did you know about the unmarked grave? So, that's the kind of thing. It's like, it's like I'm watching it on a movie screen. Is that how it comes to you, Carrie?
Yeah. So, when you're saying you see it, you can hear.
Yeah.
So, what it is your different abilities, and which not everybody has them all or uses them all. But yes, and sometimes I hear things like somebody is standing right here yelling in my ear. If it's something important or critical, I will hear it just like somebody's yelling at me in my ear. Other times I can hear it in my head. And as far as seeing things like what you're talking about, normally I do see things, but when I see them, they're in black and white.
Oh, interesting.
From other times.
Okay.
But yeah, but then also feeling, I can also, like, if somebody had lung issues, I'll have a hard time breathing. Mm-hmm. Different things like that also come through. Mm-hmm. So physically, I can actually, a lot of times, like, if there's a hard time breathing, I also can smell things sometimes.
And I was just going to bring that up because you smell stuff in the Enders.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Smell's the big one for me. And I can't say that I see anything, but I have a premonition of what's going to happen.
You did at the Enders twice.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between mediumship and haunting. Like, I don't.
Well, no, that's true. I think you're right.
I don't think that I was involved in describing anything. I think I just saw something. You know what I mean? It wasn't any ability I had. It was the ability that the ghostie had, for lack of better terms.
But you've seen shadows.
Yeah.
And you have felt presence.
Oh yeah. Well, and mine's more premonition. Like when we were in Vernal and I saw something, I knew that all of us were going to hear something. And so I looked right at the lady that said that she didn't believe, because I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And I looked right at her because I knew something was going to happen. And then when we all heard the Indian cry, I was looking right at her like, how you explain that one, lady? And she looked very scared and nervous.
Right. Yeah. You were having all kinds of experiences down there. So we were talking about being on the mesa over the Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, clairaudience, I think a lot of people have that. They hear things. They hear a lot of things. They hear their name. I think that could be somebody, a guide or somebody talking to them, coming back to them. There's another form of called channeling, which the channeler goes into a trance. And they leave their body, right? And that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, and I've only ever truly been with one person that I believe that it really did happen.
That's called a cataleptic state.
And it was incredible.
And it was real. Yeah, it was real. I think, did that person know they were channeling? Or
yes. Yes. It cost money to go to her. Mm-hmm. I wish I would have went to her sooner than I did. But no, she knew, and she takes a group of people, and it's channeling from a different dimension almost. It's not channeling a ghost or a spirit. It's channeling something even higher than that. And it was absolutely amazing. It was a woman whose body was being used, but it was a male energy that had entered her.
Oh.
He knew things about me and my husband at that time that nobody could have known. They couldn't have found the information anywhere.
Right.
Literally knew about my daughter.
Oh.
And nobody knew.
Right.
I mean, this was a place, it was in Sedona, Arizona, actually, is where I went. And so, yes, and it was amazing.
So, psychic senses are senses used by mental mediums. And I think that's probably where you fall into, right? Mental medium? Because it seems to be more mental than physical, right?
Well, I guess.
You've probably never tried to define it, right?
No, I've never tried to really define
Right.
it. It is what it is.
And that's my problem with everything.
Yeah. So
I need definitions.
A medium is said to have psychic abilities, but not all psychics function as mediums.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that because there's a difference. I mean, even in your intuitions, empathic, different levels all the way around on that. And I do think that even with somebody that is intuitive and stuff like that, I think that is on more of an energetic realm. Reading somebody's energy.
Right.
So is that an aura thing? Or is that different?
No, your energy is your aura.
Right.
And so if you've got trauma, it shows up in your energy field. If you've got a physical disease going on, it shows up in your energy field. So yes, I would say that it is dealing with your energy field, your aura.
Yeah.
So there's clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, right? Well, that is the ability to see anything that is not physically present, such as objects, animals, people. The sight occurs in the mind's eye, and that's what I keep saying, it plays out in my head.
Yeah.
So that's clairvoyance, okay? Others say, some mediums say that this is their normal vision state, and I have to say, I can't read people. I feel pain, I feel their pain, I feel their physical or mental pain, but I don't.
That's empath.
That's empathic.
Yes.
So yeah, I am totally not a medium. Clairaudience, clear hearing. It's defined as the ability to hear voices or thoughts of spirits. Some mediums hear as though they are listening to a person talking to them on the outside of their head, as though the spirit is next to or near the medium. Other mediums hear voices in their minds as verbal thought.
And I have both.
Both, okay. There's clairessence, which is clear sensing. It's the ability to have an impression of what a spirit wants to communicate or feel sensations instilled by a spirit.
Sold. I might have that one.
I was just going to say, and that is probably where you're, that and then you're being able to smell everything. See, in mine, with my smell, it's got to be a very, like the cigar smell.
Pretty strong.
That's very strong, and it's very, and if that's something that somebody's grandfather did, and that's a smell that they remember, it is a smell that will come through. It's so that you, to give them that confirmation.
Right. Clear sentence, which is clear sensing, the ability to have an impression of what a spirit wants to communicate or feel sensations. We already did that one. Clear sentence, which is clear feeling, is a condition in which the medium takes on the ailments of a spirit, feeling the same physical problem which the spirit person had before death, and that's what I get. Like, particularly if it's somebody who, well, I feel their pain. So if they were shot in the leg, I've got it. If they had a heart attack, I feel it. It's terrible. There's clairalience, which is the ability to smell a spirit, okay? And I'm not talking spirit farts. It's the tobacco and things like that.
Perfumes.
Perfume and tobacco, yeah.
My great uncle Tom smells like grease. but he owned a mechanic shop.
Oh, yeah.
So, but that was his smell.
Yeah.
So you've heard it here, folks. If you want to smell good in the afterlife,
Yeah.
you better choose your profession wisely.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's just going to smell horses and goats when I die. Clear
Nothing wrong with
aliens, which is clear smelling. It's the ability to smell a spirit. Did we just say that one? I am like, it's hot in here. I'm losing focus.
I'm trying.
Clear gustance, which is the ability to receive taste impressions from a spirit. Yeah, so if they have GERD, you don't want that. Clear cognizance, which is the knowing, the ability to know something without receiving it through normal or psychic senses. It's a feeling of just knowing. Often a medium will claim to have a feeling that a message or situation is right or wrong.
You probably sign me up for that one too.
Yeah, kind of interesting stuff. So, spiritualists believe that phenomenon produced by mediums, both mental and physical mediumship, are the result of external spirit agencies, like guides.
Yeah. Well, I do. Yeah, we all have guides. We all have deceased loved ones on the other side. So, yes.
Yeah.
So, there is a difference.
So, it's the mediumship is kind of explained as telepathy of the medium to the guide. Like you're absorbing that information.
Right, communicating.
Okay, so you're actually asking questions and they're communicating. Okay. So would you call that ESP?
I don't know, because it's not with the person. ESP is supposed to be
Person to person?
you, like
So
you
that's
and me
the twin.
doing.
Those are the twins that fill each other?
Right.
That's the ESP.
Well, they're still people, though, right?
Yeah, well, yes, okay, Tim, you're right. They are. You are correct. They are. They're just in a different.
Yeah, but well,
Realm.
Not all guides are human though.
Oh, I thought we was talking about ancestors. Our ancestors
Oh.
are human, but
Well, maybe
well,
not
some
mine.
of them, but
But
another podcast.
so there's a book called How to Think About Weird Things: Critical Thinking for a New Age. Where authors Theodore Schick and Louis Vaughn have noted that spiritualists and ESP hypothesis of mediumship has yielded no novel predictions, assumes unknown entities or forces, and conflicts with available scientific evidence. So I guess they're thinking, okay, well, if you're so like in tune, how come you're not hitting the lotto? That kind of crap.
Because, I trust me, that
Yep.
question is not. I mean, it's a very common question. Okay, so all of us here have free will. I'm still here, and this was one of the things. This is why I quit doing it for a long, long time. I can see and feel things around other people around me. I cannot with myself. I cannot with my son. Anybody that is a direct impact in my life. I mean, like, I can feel if they're not feeling well and things like that, but anything major in their lives, I cannot see. I mean, and I've tried. Don't think I have not tried. Don't think I haven't tried to, go, just give me the lottery numbers. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still a human. We're all still human. We all still have our lessons to learn here. And apparently, I didn't sign the dotted line to win the lottery. Because if I did, I would have won it.
Well, and so my mom used her abilities, and I don't know if it was I don't know what part of her abilities, to be a really good detective.
Mm-hmm.
Like, find that guy, or figure them out, or whatever. She was a detective, so whatever she did, detecting, right? So it was like she started as forgery detective and kind of worked around from there. And they were like, God, you have the most uncanny ability to find everything. And it was like, well, she tapped into all that, but I don't know where that came from. And she couldn't talk about it because the police force would laugh her out.
Right.
But she's like, why not use it? I've got these gifts. I'll figure
Right.
it out. She knew exactly when someone's lying. She knew exactly where, like, the bounty was hidden. She knew to the point where at one time she was called in because they're like, there's no way you could have known where this stuff was unless you were in on it.
Yeah.
She's like, no, wasn't in on it. And she finally had to confess to the chief, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is who I am. And he didn't believe her. But a whole series of polygraphs later, they're like, no, you weren't in on it. She's like, no, I wasn't in on it. I mean, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So people do have abilities and tap into them, but can be blowback.
Absolutely.
Especially from police chiefs.
Yeah.
And if you rob banks.
And if you rob banks. So, have you ever been to a fake seance?
Oh, absolutely.
And like immediately when you
See,
walk in
and
the door?
I went to people and not told them about me.
Oh, that's the best thing.
I went and seen people that have known nothing about me and had them do a reading, and it's like, you didn't tell me one thing that you wouldn't have told somebody my age.
Zach, have you ever been to a medium?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I don't think I've officially been to one either, honestly.
Well, we'll just have to fix that, won't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting because at the Enders, we're going to have two very, very powerful mediums. So we're going to have Carrie and we're going to have Gina. And the two of you together should be like a nuclear bomb hitting that building. And then in walks the police chief with his, I'm gonna interrogate the bad guy.
It'll be fun.
It's going to be one hell of an investigation.
It is.
I think all of our equipment's just going to go bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Here's hoping.
I know.
I've had, every time I've been there, some unique experiences happened.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, so I know contractors who've stayed at that hotel and who've left in the middle of the night. Big burly guys, work for the mining companies. Nope. Checked out. Slept in their trucks. Other people who have seen bizarre stuff in the middle of the night walking through the hotel. Of course, we had a doctor who was working with us one night because I was so sick that the mayor made the doctor come in and be with me because he's like, why are you here? Because I'm not missing the Enders. And she was groped and the police chief's wife was groped, and a lot of women are groped when they walk in the door. And so it's kind of interesting what happens in that hotel, depending on who you are. I really hope it's is as explosive as it can be. The medium thing, I think that's a great experiment for teens, not just our teens, to do.
And maybe put some thought into it beforehand.
Yeah, put some thought into it. Like,
I agree with you.
Yeah, maybe assign team members, or just say, or if you have like a 4-member team, just 2 people work on something and not tell the other 2.
Until after.
Or it happens, and then you have some sort of... Write something down and have a date from a newspaper sitting there, and you write down what you're doing so you have the newspaper so you can prove it. Or text it so you can say, hey, we texted each other on this date, and this is what we were going to do.
Right.
Start coming up with these ideas, because I think mediums are already powerful, and I think you can set off a chain of events, so it'll be kind of interesting.
And if you're looking into yourself, kind of like this guy right here, I guess you should probably find a support group and share your experiences and try to build up edgewise.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've always said that if you want to get into this kind of work, that you need to find a mentor, but it's hard because not every medium hangs a shingle out. It's word of mouth. And it's, and be careful who do you go to and who you trust. But ectoplasm, I'm going to have to say, Colin BS on the physical properties of ectoplasm.
Likewise.
Unless I can, I've never seen it, ever. Never.
I've never seen it.
I've seen wavy, almost like wavy air. Have you had that experience? Like I've gotten
Well, yeah, almost like when somebody after
like
gas,
or heat waves. Or,
yeah, I've seen that, but
that's almost like manifestation. I wouldn't call that ectoplasm.
No.
But I'm going to have to say
because they're saying ectoplasm is physical.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Is there pictures of it on
no,
Mr. Google?
That's exactly the thing.
You can find pictures of it from like the 1920s that are verifiably false. And it's kind of interesting, actually. Let me see. I was looking at one earlier that was like crazy.
Well, so Aleister Crowley's wife was said to be a physical medium. I know now, if you've known about Aleister Crowley, a lot of people think that it was very, very dark occult magic.
That's where everybody goes when they're 13, 14, 15
Yeah,
years old.
yeah,
It's
right.
Aleister
Aleister
Crowley.
right? And his wife was said to be a physical medium who manipulated things around her. Not like out of... because she could. Not
Right.
just because she was trying to fool people. But again, was it true? I don't know.
So, this is a picture I found earlier. I was just browsing Wikipedia.
Oh, hell, it's a sheet.
Yeah, I know. This is when you look into it,
I mean,
this is
come
the
on
kind of
now.
stuff that you tend to find back in the 1920s or so, when ectoplasm was a really common
That's
thing
when
with
the
the
Easter
mediums
Bunny
at that
was
time.
also terrifying.
Yeah, exactly.
All the
So
ones
you
I
look at,
saw
you know-
look like people vaping.
Oh, yeah.
Right, it's,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, that you were talking about how it kind of looks like gauze sometimes. Well, I think that's because they were using gauze as a prop.
Well, and you all
So
know that
often.
you can make ghostly looking things out of chicken wire.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. I think
Little
just...
paper
So
mache. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's...
There, and I think there's like always that chance that, you know, it's a thing that is real and it can be physically manifested, but maybe 99% of cases you look at it and it's kind of these, you know,
Yeah, that's...
sheets hung over chicken wire, like you said, or gauze.
And I think the only way this could get out of the question mark field is if you got a sample of that substance and
And
you were
you've
able
tested
to
it in a
get
lab.
it tested by a lab, and the lab was like, holy crap, we've never seen this before.
Exactly, like the alleged Bigfoot scat, which
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And
Don't hack on Bigfoot, why?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, scientist, it's an animal, and we've never found any damn proof. Just saying. Okay, we'll let that one go.
All
All right.
spotchy, and I hang out every once in a while.
Well,
Exactly.
that involves some probably. Never mind.
You guys
Okay.
done a Bigfoot episode yet?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, we did. Yeah. So, well, thanks again, everybody, for listening to this podcast on ectoplasm and physical mediums. And we hope you enjoyed it. And this is Speaking of Spirits, signing off.
Woo. Press the button.
You've been listening to Speaking of Spirits, powered by Pocatello Paranormal Research in Pocatello, Idaho. Thank you for joining us today. We're glad you could be here. If you're enjoying the podcast, please do us a favor and go to whatever platform you are listening to the podcast on and give us a review. We prefer the 5-star reviews. This helps us know how we're doing, and it helps others to find the podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you on our next podcast.